I didn't tell you about the after show.
No, I know. This is the first I'm hearing about it.
It's just a little bit more relaxed. So last time I did the after show by myself, and I just kind of ranted a little bit about, I didn't say rant, I talked about politics and kind of how the elections impact insurance. So I guess I did still talk about insurance, but so it doesn't have to be like, so
you never get too far from it.
Yeah, it's just a little bit more of a different look at you or in me, right? So I kind of how we were chatting while we were getting everything set up here about, which I thought was an interesting conversation, the difference between, and I kind of wanted to piggyback back to it, the difference between saying I can't afford something versus I choose not to spend my money on that.
Yeah.
Tell me again, that story that you do with, of you and your wife, the decision you guys have made of how you word those things with your kids.
Yeah. So, and the premise came from like, even for me, like my childhood, looking back, there are moments where we didn't have money, but even in saying that, you mentioned this in our conversation earlier, is there are so much resources and so much benefits of living in the US that even when you don't have money, there are so many benefits and programs available that you will never not be without, like essential things. The essentials of food, electricity, like even PSE like has programs and benefits, and they have charities to help you pay for like all these things. So even in the moment where we were kind of at our poorest and looking back going, actually, we usually had plenty. And then my wife had a different perspective where they had plenty in materials and resources, middle class at that time, what was considered middle class. And yet the perspective was we don't have money. And some of it, again, you're choosing a different lifestyle. You're spending money on certain things, but that left such an impression on my wife of like, we don't have money and we're poor and stressed about money. And in talking in both our kind of circumstances and perspectives, realizing like actually both our parents in different perspectives had plenty of money, had plenty of resources. And it wasn't that they didn't have money, it's that they were deciding to spend money on certain things. Versus spending money on McDonald's or vacation or, buying their kids a new sweater, even though they just bought new sweaters, 2 months ago. You know how kids are, you go to the store and you want something that day. Yeah. And as parents, I think they were kind of, and most of us we're quick to say, well, we don't have money for that. And so that started leaving an impression on Katie, my wife, and just feeling like, oh, we were poor. And I look at her and my life situation growing up, I'm like, you didn't know what poor was. Like you weren't. I remember there was like a situation kind of in my teenage years where we didn't have, according to my parents, we didn't have enough money to go buy milk, which is like an essential. I'm like, you need milk with Oreos. Like you can't have Oreos without milk.
You're not a milk drinker though.
No, I'm not a milk drinker, but I am an Oreo dunking person. Like I
don't know though. Like if your concern is I don't have milk to dunk my Oreos in, like that wasn't the communication. It wasn't like we're not going to go get milk. Right. It was we don't have money for milk. Right. What it was. So it was like, whoa, like that's the poor I experienced. Right.
Katie was like her poor that she experienced was she couldn't get the nicest, newest thing.
Right. You're not getting a brand new car for your 16th birthday.
Yeah,
Katie.
You actually have to work and make some money. And so we just kind of realized that and came to this conscious conclusion and decision to say, you know what, we will always have money to buy the essentials. And for the most part, we're kind of conscious of what we're spending money on. And so we're going to communicate with our kids. It's not that we don't have money. It's that we just don't want to spend money on certain things. So even now we still do it where our kids, want to buy something or they're like, well, we should go here or we should go buy this. And we say, well, we don't want to spend money on that thing. We don't want to spend money at this time. And that can sound frustrating to our kids, I think a little bit. And I made this joke earlier is I think they've caught on that we have money. We just don't want to spend money. And so now my kids think that because we've been saving all this money that we have like thousands and thousands of dollars sitting at the bank, like waiting to be spent.
Yeah. What did your son, what did he wanted when you talked about going on vacation?
Yeah. So we've been planning this vacation. We usually involve them in planning our vacations, and we're not planning a vacation until next year. And so we're planning it, and they're like, well, why don't we just go tomorrow to vacation? I'm like, well, cause we don't, we're saving up for money. We want to, and they're like, Dad, we can go tomorrow. You have thousands of dollars in the bank. And it's just like, okay. Yeah, yes.
I love that part about kids. They're like, you're rich.
Yeah,
I rich. Saw your wallet. You got lots of money in your wallet.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And some of it, again, and we want to make sure our kids understand, like, we have plenty. Yeah. And even when we don't have like money to spend wildly and like maybe a little bit more without care or with less care, we want them to like just have this perspective of like, we have what we need. And so when we don't, not being able to buy something doesn't mean we don't have. It's making a conscious effort of going, we just don't need it.
Right.
Like that's the difference.
I think that's interesting. I was thinking about, there's a story that I read about. It was a financial planner guy, helping people with managing money and getting out of debt. And he said he had 3 appointments with 3 different couples in a row one day. And the first couple came in and they were making like $50,000 a year, and they were going in debt and they were struggling. And so he was kind of like talking through like what's going on. And he said the couple told him, like, our problem isn't spending. Our problem is our income is too low. Mm. They're like, we're not wasting our money. We just feel like if we could just make, $75,000, we're like just like $25,000 away from being okay. If we could just make $75,000, we would be fine financially. So that's really what we need to focus on, figuring out how to increase our income. He said, and as luck would have it, this couple number 2 was making $80,000 a year. So they were making $5,000 a year more than what couple 1 thought they needed to make in order to be okay. And they're in the same boat, right? They're struggling. They're going in debt and they're drowning financially. And so as he's walking through it, they say the same thing. They're like, our problem is an income problem. They said, what we need to make is about $100,000 a year. Like 80 grand is just not that much anymore. And that's where we feel like if we could get to that 800 grand, we would be fine. We'd have enough breathing space. And he said the next couple made 130,000 a year. And they were in the same boat with the same thought process. They just needed to make more money. And to your point, I think the issue in general, it doesn't matter it doesn't really matter how much money you make. It matters how you spend your money.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and there is some things, and I don't know what this would be adjusted for inflation, because this was like probably 7 or 8 years ago. They did a study on it, and they said after you make, I think it was like $54,000 a year.
I think I heard 65. I think maybe if you're saying that.
Yeah, maybe which would be adjusted. I mean, you're gonna have to adjust it for inflation a little bit. Like you will be no more happy with making more money. Yeah, because once you can cover your basic living expenses, a place to live, pay your utilities, buy groceries, have a car to drive to and from work, and buy gas and pay for your insurance. Like once you can cover all those basics, like it doesn't really it's not going to make you any happier to make more money.
Right.
If your level of happiness is kind of peaked at the basics being covered. And so how you choose to spend your money is really going to be what the difference is of whether or not you feel stressed about money and you feel like you're broke all the time. Yeah. Is how you spend it.
No, for sure. And I think that's I don't know how much people want to like admit this in themselves, or there's always like a need for more.
Oh, for sure.
And so like, whether you're conscious of it or not, like have kids and watch them. Like,
right.
They just want more.
Well, and they're happy with like, you watch a toddler playing on the floor with a toy.
Yeah.
And they're happy with that toy until they see somebody else playing with a different toy.
Right.
And then they need that other toy.
Right. And I think the reality is, you look at humans, like you look at adults, I don't think we grow out of that.
Yeah.
I'll throw myself under the bus. I have a story I think I've shared with you before, like sitting around with a group of men and they were showing off a truck. And then I was like, I want a truck. I couldn't afford one at the time, but like something in me is like, I now have to work
to get my truck.
And it's just like, why? Why do I want one? Why do I need one? And it was like a big diesel truck, which something in me still wants one, but I was able to suppress that a little bit.
You went in the middle. You got a gas truck.
I went in the middle, got a gas.
You got a nice truck.
I got a nice truck, yeah. But I think we don't grow out of that.
Yeah.
And so I think it is a trap that we often fall into of wanting more. And
see, when I park next to your truck every morning, I'm like, I need to get a truck. Gerald's got a truck.
Yeah.
I need a big truck too.
Yeah. And so I think it is like a balance of realizing like,
if I'm going shopping this next weekend, I'm going to buy a truck.
Ooh, there you go. You can buy exact one.
Right.
Same color and everything.
But I'm going to buy a diesel.
Yeah. That'd be great. What a way to just like rub it in.
Right. Like, and then I would just start it up, just like make sure.
Oh man. I don't know what it is about diesels. Not so much the newer ones because they've like made them quieter.
Yeah, they're quieter and they're the roar of the diesel. You know what else it is? And they've fixed this a little bit with making everything so efficient. Yeah. But for me, there's just something nostalgic because my dad was a truck driver. So there's something nostalgic for me when you hear the diesel engine roaring and you smell the diesel.
Yes.
Because like now it's like so it's got to be an older diesel truck to like get that smell. But like just the smell of a diesel truck and like hearing it, it's like, there's just something like comforting to me. Like, I don't know. The other day I was like at a truck stop and I was like, oh, this feels like nice.
You stopped by just to be
I just need to sit here for a minute, decompress.
I like it.
Takes
Taking
me
you
back.
back.
Yeah. It's like, I feel like, you know, that in the movie Ratatouille.
Yep.
Where the food critic, he's eating, what is it that they make him?
Ratatouille.
They make him ratatouille. Yeah.
Right?
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Ratatouille. Right. They make him this pasta. No. They make him pasta.
And Cole's laughing at us. He's like, what are they talking about? Because the rat's name's Remy. And so.
So it's got to be Ratatouille.
It's Ratatouille.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Cole confirms it's Ratatouille. Thank you, Cole.
Well, like, hopefully.
We're going to get hate for this. My niece Ella, she watches this, will cringe.
Yeah.
She's like, that's her favorite movie. Anyways, so the food critic takes a bite, right? And then it flashes back and shows him to his childhood and everything, right? And it takes him back in time, and it just is like this peaceful thing for him. That's how I felt at a truck stop.
Yeah.
So
I believe it, man. There is something about. So anyways, all that to say, I think we don't grow out of that habit or that desire of wanting more. And we've made it a conscious effort of going, you know, we want more.
Right.
But it's good to realize that and then go, we don't have to live.
We don't need more.
Yeah. We don't have to live in that treadmill of wanting more and then killing ourselves for more.
And it's okay to have more sometimes when you make that conscious decision to say, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Versus I have to do this.
Right.
All right. We don't have to be the toddler on the floor that goes and picks a fight to steal a toy. We can say, hey, I'm going to be content with the toy that I have. Yeah. I'll get another toy later when it's appropriate for me to do so.
Yeah. So it's been good. We'll see what our kids get scarred with in it though.
Yeah. Well, you're going to scar your kids no matter what. That's something I've realized as a parent now, as my children have all become young adults.
Yeah.
I still have two at home that I'm sure will still have some sort of trauma from me. But I realize like no matter what you do, like your kids are going to, when they grow up, and obviously I'm not talking about being a bad parent, like those are different, but like no matter what you do, how good you try to be, when your kids grow up, there's going to be things where they're like, well, you know, mom and dad, then they tell the younger kids, and I see this with my kids, and I'm like, you guys are ridiculous. Like when I was your age, I was never allowed to. I'm like, oh my gosh. So yeah, it doesn't matter. There's going to be something, but I think it's important that you recognize what things it was that you see, and you're like, okay, I am going to correct this area. There's probably other areas that you're blind to, but
for sure,
you fix the areas that you see.
I think like what happens, and I hear this a lot, and I think really like that conscious decision came from, you see so many people that were poor or live with that poor mentality that are like starving to make it. And their desire of not being poor drives them to kind of miss out on what life's about.
That's true.
And so our hope in trying to reframe our kids to go, hey, it's not that we don't have money, it's we don't want to spend money. Whether we have it or not, like sometimes the reality is we don't have that kind of money. We can't just pick up tomorrow and go and spend, thousands of dollars on a vacation. Where our hope in reframing it is our kids realize like that they don't have to go striving to have money.
Right.
That there's other things and other ways to enjoy life than just buying and having the ability to buy things.
Yeah.
So that's our kind of our hope behind it. So
that's awesome. That's cool.
That's it. So,
well, thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out for the after show.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
All right.
It's been good.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. We will see you next time.
Have a good one.